Welcome to the Dogtor Bros, where we have an honest discussion around vet life in and out of the clinic. My name is Jeff. I'm your doc of the day and your guide through this episode. I'm a dermatology associate veterinarian living in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm here with my closest friends from vet school.
Hey, this is Chris. I'm a GP in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Hey, this is Brandon. I'm an internal medicine associate veterinarian in Fort Collins, Colorado.
And this is Adam. I'm a relief veterinarian in Louisville, Kentucky.
As always, good to see you guys again. And we're going to get into an episode navigating some nuances of how to go to a veterinary conference and the ins and outs of it. But first, like always, we have an opener game. So my friends, my co-hosts, listeners, they cannot see the game yet. Sometimes it is written out for us in this beautiful Google Doc, but I have a game that I've written on ink and paper here for you today.
Old school.
So I've got it's old school. It's the oldest school. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. We're going to do a little dermatology trivia.
Oh, no.
Yay! 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 Everybody's excited. Yay!
These games give me so much stress.
So we're going to get a little clinical.
The answer is always Demodex.
The answer is rarely Demodex. So this is just going to be kind of open-ended. I'm not keeping score or anything like I have at games in the past. I'm going to give you all the question. Everybody gets to answer, and then I'll tell you the correct answer. All right, y'all ready?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Chris is shaking his head no, but I'm pretty sure that's just because he has a cold. He's probably just like a little sniffly from, kind of knocking out of your nose. So question number 1, what is the most common condition treated by dermatologists?
Atopy.
Atopy, allergies, yeah.
That's what I was going to say as well.
And the correct answer is atopy. Ding! You're all right.
Ayo.
Good job. The old atopic dermatitis or environmental allergies, by far, easily the most common. Question number 2, what is the most common autoimmune disease of the skin? Doop, boop, doop, boop, doop, boop. Anybody can answer.
I'll go with pemphigus.
Yeah, pemphigus is what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I'm going to third that.
Strength in numbers.
And the correct answer is pemphigus foliaceus. We will take it.
All right.
I could have been really annoying, but we're not going to go through the pemphiguses, the different types. I'll save that for Brandon one day on a random text thread.
I kept it general on purpose.
Yeah, I'm not a total a-hole here. So question number 3. This is the big one. What selective JAK inhibitor has been reported to have efficacy against several cutaneous autoimmune diseases?
I remember the number 2.
I'm going with Apoquel.
Oh, you're talking about the drug.
I am talking. We are looking for a drug. We are looking for a drug name.
Yeah, maybe you should repeat the question.
What selective JAK inhibitor has been reported to have efficacy against several cutaneous autoimmune diseases?
Autoimmune?
We have Brandon's answer.
Is prednisone the JAK inhibitor?
We have Adam's answer.
But we'll go pred.
Christopher?
Cyclosporin or Apoquel, I don't know.
Which one?
I don't know, let's find out.
The correct answer is Apoquel, oclacitinib. So technically, Brandon is the most correct because he gave one answer.
That's fine.
Yeah. I was like, I can't pronounce the O word for the generic.
The O word. Very good, though. Very good. So the fun fact is that there are a couple of autoimmune diseases in the skin that Apoquel is being used for. You can text me about it later if you come up against one, but they're pretty rare. So, last question. So this is open-ended. Name one non-pruritic skin condition. Listeners, everyone's head just at a tilt, a look up into the air.
Pruritic.
Looking for the answer in the heavens. Cutaneous lymphoma?
That's great. That's an answer.
Sebaceous cysts probably aren't pruritic.
Yeah, I'll agree with sebaceous cysts.
Wait, was that right?
Yes and no. So most of the time, cutaneous lymphoma is not that itchy, but there are cases that are extremely pruritic.
I heard not itchy,
Yeah.
so I call it a win.
We'll take it because most of the time I think it presents as a non-itchy condition, but there are some cases, often in cats, that are extremely pruritic. So it depends.
What about lipomas?
Lipomas would probably not be itchy. We'll take it.
Is that the skin?
Yeah,
Is it?
it's fine. We'll take it. We'll take it. I do diagnose lipomas. I'm surprised that the most common answers that I would probably say are like dermatophyte is not typically itchy unless there's a secondary infection, endocrine diseases of the skin, hypothyroidism, Cushing's disease, Demodex. Adam, I thought you would say Demodex because you said it earlier.
Damn, I should have.
Well, I was thinking endocrine, but I was like specifically of the skin, not like a secondary effect on the skin.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'm not trying to hardball you.
I came from hardball school.
That's true. That's true.
That's a t-shirt. Internal medicine. I came from hardball school.
It's real. You are the only one here that went through a internal medicine residency, which I am not jealous of, but very proud of you for. So
I appreciate it.
let's get into navigating conferences. And up top, I did want to mention to listeners, if you're just listening to us for the first time, go and take a listen to episode 39, where we had Vet Ventures CE. A CE company that does small conferences, because we'll mention them in this episode as well about how they put on some conferences, which are very interesting. But up top, general question for you guys as well. What types of conferences have you been to, just in general?
This is Adam. So the main conference I've been to when we're talking about like big conferences is NAVC. Now I think it's called VMX. Mainly went to that in vet school. I think we also went to it my first or second year out of vet school. Having kids has kind of complicated the going to a conference, but who knows with the Vet Ventures that we spoke to in a previous episode. Maybe we can get back to that. But VMX has been the main one I've been to. I've done some online conferences as well. But you miss out on some networking, which I think we're going to touch on later. But the main in-person conference that I've been to is the big VMX conference.
This is Chris. VMX is the big one. We went a couple times in vet school, and then I went my first year out into practice. I actually did an ortho lab then, so that one was pretty cool. And then other conferences, I've done IVS. I think those are fun. We went to, those are like usually destination ones. They're similar to Veterinary Ventures. So I'm actually doing another one of those this year.
What's it called? IVS?
IVS.
What does that stand for? International
Veterinary something. Don't quote me.
It sounds good. Sounds good.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
But it's International Veterinary something. I don't know. I had one of the doctors I worked with. She recommended it to me to get on to do their conferences, and then I'm doing 2 of theirs now.
International Veterinary Seminars.
Oh,
yeah, they're good. They usually have I think 2 doctors typically come in, so it's definitely more close knit conference. So yeah, we're doing one in North Carolina this year. And then what else? I did a wet lab. I don't really count that as a conference. We did a wet lab last year. So, but yeah, that's the extent of my conferences.
This is Brandon. I've had the opportunity to go to a variety of conferences, actually, even before going to the more internal medicine specific stuff. So yeah, we did NAVC when it was NAVC, and now it's VMX. That was a lot of fun. I haven't been back, I don't think, since we were in vet school. That was a fun time. When I was a GP, I was really trying hard to get good dentistry skills. I ended up going to the veterinary dental conference. I don't remember the exact name of that conference, but it might just be the veterinary dental conference. Anyway, it was in Phoenix. It was really cool. I learned a lot. Didn't really make a difference for me at the end because I'm in internal medicine. I don't really do dentistry anymore. But it was good. So if you're into dentistry, or if you're a GP that does a lot of dentistry, I highly recommend that conference if you haven't been already. And then I've had the opportunity now to go to ACVIM multiple times. The ACVIM Forum is a great conference. It will be in Louisville this coming year, 2025.
Whoop, whoop.
So since
Whoop, whoop.
two of these guys are in Louisville, I can, maybe not Durham necessarily, but if I can convince Adam to tag along and come to the conference and boost up his internal med skills, that's it'd be a good thing. And then selfish plug here, hopefully I'll be getting my official certification and have that ceremony when I'm at that conference, since I passed boards. So
That's right.
yeah.
Hell
Shout
yeah,
out to
you
Brandon.
did.
Just
Howdy,
this paper.
buddy.
Ow!
Thanks, guys. Just got to get this paper published. Just submitted it to JVIM, so fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, I highly recommend ACVIM if you have any interest in internal medicine. There's a lot there. There's oncology, neurology. There's nutrition now. There's the general internal med stuff. There's large animal internal medicine there if you're a large animal vet. So I can't speak highly enough for that conference. There's just a lot there to learn from. And then lastly, one of the smaller conferences, it's very focused in gastroenterology. The Comparative Gastroenterology Society does a conference every year. I've been able to go the past 2 years. Highly recommend that if you are very focused in the GI world, or really enjoy GI or hepatobiliary medicine and want to be on the cutting edge. There's a lot of big names in veterinary research across the country and across the world, really, that go to that conference, and it's a good learning opportunity.
That sounds excellent, Brandon. This is Jeff again. And so conferences I've been to, which some are going to be non-shockers. I've mentioned that I went to NAVDF, which is the National American Derm Forum. So it's maybe 400, I'd say max 500 people there at those types of conferences. So pretty small, close knit. And then, of course, I've been to NAVC/VMX with you guys. And we're talking a conference that big is tens of thousands of people. It is literally the biggest, I believe it's still the biggest veterinary conference. I'm not going to go so far as to say in the world, but definitely the biggest in North America. So it can be really huge, overwhelming, but just exciting. So why don't we talk about the positive things? What are some general benefits of going to a veterinary conference?
This is Adam. So yeah, I would definitely say obviously the biggest benefit is the knowledge that you can gain. So you can kind of refine certain skills, but also learn new technologies, new diagnostics, new treatments, and learn about new drugs, new ways of doing things, or just different ways of doing things than what you're used to. You get a chance to network with the speakers, with veterinarians from all over the country who, again, may be doing things different than you that you may find work better for you than what you've been doing. And meeting certain people that may help you advance within your career. If you're looking for a career change or looking to move or things of that nature, you can kind of expand and meet new people and kind of help yourself grow, or even bring people in. So, I mean, if you're looking to hire at your clinic. So, I mean, there's unlimited potential when it comes to networking, and that's obviously a big one. And then again, there to kind of learn about new things and what else is out there and different techniques that may benefit you.
This is Chris. I mean, I couldn't agree more with that, as well as also you can get all your CE done at the entire conference and just in one go around. I know for North Carolina, I think I don't know if we have the highest CE requirement, but I know we have one of the highest. We need 20 CE credits a year. So we can definitely do that in one go at VMX. I know some of the conferences I go to, I still need to do additional CE after going to the conference. But yeah, and then there's also courses you can do at VMX. I mean, there's just so many perks you can do. Yeah, I mean, I've always had a blast every time we've gone to VMX.
And this is Brandon. Yeah, I mean, first and foremost is like what you can gain knowledge wise, and I try to go to things that I feel weak in. So especially with internal medicine, if I'm like, ooh, I'm not as well versed in this topic, I try and go to those lectures. One of the perks that I guess we haven't really gotten into, but maybe we'll touch on again, is like just like going to all the different booths and getting some freebies, especially at the really, really big conferences. It's really easy to get freebies. I don't know if you guys remember where they have like the really big drawing after you like go to certain booths, like the passport drawing at VMX or NAVC. And I won that.
What did you win?
And like an Apple TV and an iPad and an Apple Watch. It was like ridiculous. So you never get a chance to win unless you play. So if you're going to a conference, do it. Like I had no expectations, and that's what happened.
Yeah, Brandon. No. One thing you mentioned about winning was I remember there was at least one year where I feel like we all went to NAVC, now VMX, and we all got something. Like we all left with some prize. And one thing that you surprised me with, the reason I was like, "What did you win?" is because I knew there's like a passport thing where you could go around to different booths and get like stamps and put it in for a car. And I was like, "Did you win the car?" And we didn't know. No.
Surprise.
I would have been fine with the car, but I'm happy with what I won. I actually still use that Apple TV to this day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, as like a secondary one.
I was saying, didn't Adam win an iPad?
I actually won the iPad in vet school, but I did win $1,200 at VMX.
Holy crap, that's awesome.
So that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I remember getting the short end of the stick because I just got the Fitbit, and I was like, I was having such a hard time. I was like, well, I'm happy about my Fitbit, but my friends are raking it in over here left and right.
Oh man. Yeah, but like even if you don't like win those big things, there's always like really good stuff. Like I just went to ACVIM this year, and it was in June, and like you just go to the Purina booth, listen to a lecture. Actually, got to see Jeff's face on a board there.
Hey,
and I walked away with like a free Yeti like stainless steel mug. That I've been using like in the mornings when I'm like going out and about. So that didn't require anything special. I just had to attend a lecture for 10 minutes. So I highly recommend doing those things while you're there. That's not the point of the conference, but take advantage while you're there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. This is Jeff again. I'll say, since you brought up exhibit halls, I mean, I do think there's a lot you can get out of visiting the booths. So obviously, the bigger the conference, the more exhibit hall options there's going to be. There's all kinds of businesses that are basically just trying to either share information or sell you on something, sell products, but they often will have all kinds of things like prizes and sweepstakes, drawings, free t-shirts, free cups like your Yeti. And I remember whoever's car we were driving back in, maybe it was one, I feel like it was an SUV. It might have been yours, Brandon, or somebody's. I don't know. I know it wasn't my little tiny old Civic, but I remember shoving our stuff in the back of someone's SUV, and we all had so much shit that we almost couldn't fit all of our stuff because you packed for like basically a week-long conference, and then we were all like breaking our backs fitting new book bags of just stuff into the back. Some of it is honestly junk, but we had like a Christmas haul of stuff, but everybody got so much stuff. We just shoved it in the back of the car and then made our way back to vet school. And then obviously other exhibit hall things, like that's honestly a great way to network as well. Adam mentioned networking, which there's multiple things we could get into there, but I mean, it forces you to chat because a lot of those people are salespeople and just there to speak to you, whether it be for selling you something to your clinic Or, it's honestly a great opportunity to get something going with a lunch and learn, depending on the industry, or learn about your nearest sales rep. But you should ask some questions about different products and things. Sometimes I just go up to new companies like Merck and I'm like, what's up? What's new? So another thing I was going to ask you all is, when there's so much going on at conferences, how do you maximize your learning, especially when there's so many options, especially at the big ones for lectures? How do you decide what to go to? I know, Brandon, you already mentioned you like to go to things you're a little bit looking for some strengths in, or things that you're weaker in, looking to get stronger.
This is Adam. So what we did in vet school when we went, and what I would definitely do now going as a practicing veterinarian, is when you go to those big conferences, it's kind of split up to where they have the ginormous exhibit hall where they have all the booths and all the different companies and all the new innovations that they want to show off, that you can kind of walk through at your leisure and just kind of look through everything. And then they also have lectures where you can go and sit and listen to speakers and take in, again, new techniques, new treatments, new diagnostics, and really just do case workups. Like some of them will just take you through specific cases. They can be on specific topics like kidney disease or heart disease or endocrine or whatever. So what I would do, and again, especially now as a practicing veterinarian, before you get there, or even right when you get there, they give you like a giant handout, giant pamphlet, essentially, that tells you all the different lectures and tells you a lot of the conference hall information as well. And it tells you what day and what time and where those lectures are. So I would go through that pamphlet and find the lectures that spoke to me the most, that I really wanted to attend, and kind of highlight those and be like, all right, well, at 11 o'clock, we got to be in the North Wing for a talk on kidney disease. And then from 12 to 1, it's lunch break or there's not much going on. I can grab something quick. I'll head over to the conference hall, hit up some booths, talk to some people there, see what's going on there. And then again, at 1 o'clock, there's another lecture I want to hit up, so I'll go check that out. And then really kind of plan out your day ahead of time, just so you're not like in the moment and you're like, all right, what do I want to do? Where do I need to go? And really try to navigate that conference hall and where things are as much as possible beforehand too, because a lot of these are in big hotels with a number of different halls. And it takes a long time to walk from one to the other. So like kind of get your bearings straight, because we had some instances where we were cutting it close because we didn't know where the hell we were going, and the lecture is starting now and we got to go to the other side of the hotel. So kind of getting your bearings straight, having an idea, having an itinerary of where you want to be, when you want to be there, will really help set you up for success.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is Brandon again. The like conference booklet that has a map and all the itinerary for each day is really helpful. Nowadays too, they're on an app. I don't know. I can't speak for NAVC/VMX because I haven't been to that conference in a while. But for ACVIM, they do a really good job of putting an app together. You can like kind of highlight which things you want to go to. You can separate them out by different specialties. You can see what like days they're on, the time. So that way you're not like sometimes there's lectures that I want to go to that are at the same time, and unfortunately you just can't. Maybe we can get into this later, but like some conferences have like a on-demand option now. But focus on the big ticket items that you like for you that you want to see. I would do those in person, because if you have any questions, you can ask the lecturer, then and there. I think that's a very useful thing. And sometimes there's Q&A type stuff that if even if it is recorded, might not get included in there, and you can get access to that as well. So yeah, I totally agree with your point, Adam, as far as like just map out what you want to do beforehand, so you're not scrambling when you get there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of those things. This is Jeff again, and some notes that I took as far as maximizing learning. I had actually written down the on-demand option, like you mentioned, Brandon. So that's becoming more popular, especially post-COVID. So if you can't go to everything you want to go to, at least a lot of the bigger conferences are offering some kind of online option where you can peek into later, and dividing and conquering with your friends. So you can look at that schedule. I really like what you said, Adam, like look at the schedule in advance. Some conferences even have apps, especially like VMX, where you can even click and make like a pseudo schedule in advance so you can see where you want to go. But if something's too far, you're like, well, I'll catch it on demand if I can. And then if you're coming from like a vet student angle, I remember I specifically picked things that sounded like they'd be Navly-y. So go look for things that maybe will help you on a future test. Definitely great to go for things that you are weak on, but sometimes it's also tempting and also fine because go for something that you really like or you're strong with. Like, what are the updates? So I constantly have that battle between I suck at this, let me go to this lecture and get more knowledge, versus I'm really good at this other topic, so let me go see what's new about it. And I think the proceedings are pretty invaluable. So a lot of proceedings or conferences have like notes. Now they're getting more electronic, but there's usually something for a lot of those conferences, I would say.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I kind of forgot about that. For every conference that I've been to, because there's sometimes, even if you can't go to the lecture, you can just download the proceedings. And oftentimes it's a pretty decent little thing. I can't speak for VMX. I haven't been in a while. But with the ACVIM conference, the proceedings that we get are pretty thorough, well referenced, and are a really good cheat sheet. If you really liked the information that you got, let's say it's like new techniques for managing diabetes with X drug. Oftentimes there's like some really good like go-to information in those proceedings that you can refer to pretty quickly. So what I've done is like whenever I go to our conference, I have I use Apple computers, so I have Apple Notes. And I can like type it on my phone, or I can type it up on my computer. If I have my computer, it all syncs together. And I can like import PDFs into the notes associated with that lecture, and I can just have it all referenced right there. So that's how I've been keeping up with my stuff. And then I also have a folder on my computer that just like has proceedings that I can refer to later on.
Yeah, this is Jeff again. I think that's invaluable. So even our recent derm conference, we had one this past July. And technically, it's a smaller conference. It's our biggest conference, ironically, but it's bigger than our normal 500-ish people one. Like, I think there's a few thousand people at this one, if I had to estimate. It's called our World Dermatology Conference, so it's everybody in the world came to it. But even, I'd say on a scale of other conferences, there are bigger conferences, but they had full, super thorough proceedings and like all of the notes that I have downloaded as a PDF on my computer now. It's just an excellent, super easy resource. So I feel like I haven't missed anything. So why don't we talk a little bit? We've talked about a lot of benefits. Why don't we talk about some cons, some negatives of conferences? So tell me, what is a negative experience you've had at a conference, or some maybe not so great things about going to conferences? Anything you can think of, we'll take it.
This is Chris. I mean, I guess it wasn't really a negative at the I mean, it's just, I don't know. I guess it's the negative. You can make it. You can get sucked into the exhibit halls, and then you'll miss the conference. So like, I've heard of like people like, oh yeah, I just went there all day. I'm like, you didn't get any CE done? Like they were just browsing exhibit halls, and their entire day was spent getting swag and stuff, and they didn't get any of the CE done. So that's a big thing. I would say, like, maybe set some time of the day where you want to go to the exhibit hall, but you don't need to go. There are some things like the prizes you can get are fun, but you need to get the CE done. And then I guess for those big exhibit halls, I mean, I guess if you didn't plan out your day properly and you had one conference at one end of the hall and then your next one is at the next end, they might take you more than 10 minutes with everyone walking through the hallways to get to your conference, and you're probably going to be late. So it's not a negative, but definitely try to plan appropriately because it takes longer than you think especially for a place like VMX. Like that's a huge conference center. Like you can walk for days, it feels like, there and still not get to your destination on time.
Yeah, this is Brandon. I definitely agree with that. It's super easy to get sucked into the exhibit hall if you're not careful. For me, it's one of the more obvious cons. It's just the fact that you have to travel, and then the cost of the travel plus the cost of the conference. These things are not cheap. I've been getting discounts as a resident. This will be my first year coming up as a non-resident clinician going into the conference. It can be expensive, multiple hundreds of dollars. So hopefully with your job, you have a decent CE budget that you can work with and utilize that. And, CE time off, I don't know if that's standard nowadays. I hope it is. I have that built into my personal contract for the clinic that I'm working with, just to have that extra time specifically for CE. And you just have to organize things. I fortunately don't have kids. I know multiple people in our group do, so that can be kind of tricky to navigate. They try and do the conferences in big cities that it's worthwhile visiting to go see other things outside of the conference itself. So you can take advantage of that, or have your family take advantage of that while you're at the conference. But that's one of the cons. I mean, it's not like you can just do this at home unless you sign up for the on-demand stuff. Then it's something where you could literally just sit at home and watch lectures.
Yeah, this is Jeff again, and I can't there's so many things that I want to pick out from what you said that I think are so excellent for this, because 100% agree with number one, they're picking big cities for a reason. So if you don't plan out your day, it's very easy to, let's go do some sightseeing, and then you miss part of the conference, or you can easily miss something that you genuinely wanted to improve on. So you have to plan that out. Like when we're at VMX, I know we got some time to go to Universal and or Disney, but then you miss some conference time. So you have to plan it appropriately. So those things aren't wrong, but it is a negative is that you have to be super intentional about your time management. Another one I was going to mention is that we've kind of already touched on is it can be literally physically exhausting. So conference culture is you have to be totally on all the time when you're speaking to people. I mean, you don't have to be, but it's easy to be. It's just a super social environment. So you're kind of up and on your feet the entire day, unless you're sitting down in a lecture, which is basically like going to school again if you have a very dry lecturer, unfortunately. But if you get a great one, then you're engaged and it's good. But as an overall thing, you're physically exhausted. You're walking around all the time. You're always on. It's an overstimulating environment. And it's also very hard to navigate. Like, when do you eat? Are you buying lunch because you hopefully have a CE budget? Are you paying for it out of pocket? So a lot of things are out of pocket. So it's something you should hopefully have built into your job, but not everybody does. So it can be super expensive if your job isn't helping out, you're not intentional with things. But those are some of the ones I thought of. All right. So we've already talked about navigating exhibit halls. We've talked about some huge, big benefits. And I guess one general question, which maybe I partially touched on this, would be, so question to you guys again, should you treat conferences like a vacation?
This is Adam. That's a tough one, I feel like, because one of the big downsides of conferences you were just talking about was how it's like you're away from work, but you do always have to be on. You always have to be having your social hat on and your learning hat on while you're there to get the most out of it. But again, that time away from work is precious as well. So I think it's a balancing act. I think you can do both in moderation. There is definitely a social component to the conferences. A lot of times in the evening, they'll have different things. They'll have, I think we went to some where they had like a stand-up comedian come in one night, or they'll have, one time it was during the Super Bowl. They threw a big Super Bowl party in the evening. So they definitely have those social events as well, which, if you're open to it, is another good time to network. But also, that's a way to kind of enjoy your time away from work as well. So I think you just have to be cognizant of it, and definitely understand that, yes, the ultimate goal here is to get my CE hours, advance my learning, maybe meet some other people that can help me in my career. But, we can have fun while doing that, and then also take a little time for ourselves as well while we do get the opportunity to be away from work.
Yeah, I like how you said that, Adam. This is Brandon. I think like the way I see it is you should treat it as both. Like number one, you're there for work and you're there to get CE. So as long as you're doing that and you allocate time to do that and explore where you're at, whether that's, for ACVIM this year it was Minneapolis. I didn't have any big plans to see Minneapolis myself. But for like one of the smaller conferences that I go to, Comparative Gastroenterology Society Conference or CGS Conference, they go to some really big places. So 2 years ago, they went to Costa Rica. Half of the day was conference. The second half of the day was enjoy yourself vacation. That's how it was designed. Same thing for like last year, we went to Tahoe, half the day conference, half the day go have fun in the snow. And then this year coming up is Puerto Rico. I don't think I'll be able to go to that one, unfortunately. But again, it's designed for you to get a vacation as well as get your CE. So I think as long as, like Adam said, as long as you're being diligent and like doing the work, you can still go have fun.
And I wholeheartedly agree. This is Jeff again. I really have nothing to add in that category. I think you guys hit the nail on the head. So to kind of finish out things, I did want to ask one question, which I didn't write down in here. Okay, so two final questions. One will be our ender, but one last conference question I had was, so we've mentioned so much about networking. How do you guys like to do it? Like if you're on the ground, you're at a conference, what is your method? Like what does that mean to you?
This is Brandon again. For me, it's a little hard. I generally don't enjoy networking. I think I'm more of a introvert in general. So it's kind of hard for me to put myself out there. For me, it kind of depends on a few things. At the really, really big conferences, like if there's a specific thing that you're interested in, like we had talked about exhibit halls earlier. When I went to the ACVIM conference recently, like I know I'm going to be getting some ultrasound training. It's going to be with Sound. It's a company owned by like the Mars Group, and they had a big booth there. So I went and like talked to one of the reps. I was like, hey, like, I'm going to be doing one of your courses here in the next couple of months. You guys have any new products? And I actually learned some stuff. There's this really cool like wireless probe that hooks up to an app that you can use as like a portable ultrasound. It's really cool. I would have never learned anything about that had I not gone to the booth and talked to the rep. And then I also learned that I can like, hey, there's a rep in your area. You can like literally talk to your rep and get free use of this thing before your clinic buys it or you buy it or whatever. So that was a really good networking opportunity. There are other things like you guys can probably speak more about the Purina side of things. They have a big network, and I know you guys are kind of meshed into that network.
Yeah. This is Jeff again. I'll say with Purina specifically, I think that's a good example. So at the conference that I just went to, because I used to be a student rep, I had met a lot of those people before who were running the booth, and it was pretty easy to get just chatting with them again. And then it's great because if they, bonus things that you don't expect but are nice are like if you're just having a good conversation and talking about new products or what's coming out, they might invite you to lunch or they might invite you to dinner. And so you can get that benefit and also get to learning not only more parts about their business, but also getting to learn who they are as people, which is just on a human level really nice. And then that can sprout into other opportunities. So my networking has gotten me chances to speak for Purina, and then we keep making those connections, and then you see them at conferences and just keep meeting more people through that. So that's been really great personally and professionally and mutually beneficial. They love having speakers. I love speaking. So it's a really good relationship. When I guess in general, because I think I'm a hybrid introvert, extrovert, if you will. So conference culture, you can take the benefit of. Chris is violently shaking his head no. Okay. I like homebody, being a homebody, but I'm fine. I'm more of an extrovert, but you can take advantage of the culture of a conference, which is everybody's talking to somebody. So it's very easy to be intentional, just strike up a conversation with somebody, go to a booth, pick up something, even if you're a little bit nervous. If you want to, you can share your Instagram with people. You can share your email, bring business cards. There are now QR codes you can make into business cards now. So you can share something virtual if you don't want to buy some paper and carrying it around with you. So even if a lot of the chit chat turns into nothing, you never know what opportunities it could turn into, I guess is my point. So take advantage of that.
This is Adam. I was going to say it's funny that you asked this question, Jeff, because out of the four of us, you're definitely the most extroverted. I feel like me and Brandon and Chris are all very introverted, and you are the most introverted of the four of us. So us answering this question is kind of funny. But as far as networking goes, I'm kind of like Brandon. I'm a little bit more introverted. I'm not just pick a random person, go up to them and start talking to them, strike up a conversation. I think the best way to network at a conference is kind of like these guys said, talk to the speakers after a lecture that you go to, ask questions, and also talk to people at the booths. If you're not a natural extrovert, the people at the booths, 9 times out of 10, they are, because the company wants to put a natural extrovert at that booth to get the word out about their product. So don't worry about that. They will carry the conversation. You can just kind of follow along. I'd also say that there's never been a time where I've taken the initiative to strike up a conversation with somebody at a conference or any sort of social setting like that and regretted it. Sometimes I try to force myself out of my comfort zone and strike up a conversation with people. Rarely, but I do try. And there's never been a time where I'm like, man, I shouldn't have done that. Usually I feel better walking away from that conversation. And even if I know, I'm probably never going to talk to that person again, I still feel like I gained from having that conversation. I do remember when we were at NAVSE one time in vet school, they had shuttles that would take us from our hotel to the conference. And I sat by a veterinarian, I believe he was from Oregon, and we just struck up a conversation. And I just learned a lot about him. I told him a little bit about myself, and we just small talked the whole way to the conference. And I still remember that to this day, and just little bits of the conversation that we had. So again, I've never regretted that, doing that when I have, even though it's been few and far between. But again, you never know who you're going to bump into. You may talk to somebody who's your future boss, or you may talk to somebody who is your future employee, so never shy away from those opportunities, even if it is a little intimidating. Again, that's where that balance comes in. A little bit of work, a little bit of play. If you're a natural introvert and you're forcing yourself to be extroverted, just consider that your little bit of work, and then your little bit of play can be going home and, vegging out on some Netflix, so again, finding that balance, but definitely don't take for granted the benefits of networking.
This is Chris. I couldn't agree more with Adam. I definitely jumping on the Adam and Brendan train of introvert. JT is definitely the most extroverted person by far out of the four of us. I definitely have to try hard to meet new people and do things that doesn't come as naturally to me. I feel like as JT does, and especially striking up conversations. But yeah, like Adam says, definitely when you start talking to somebody, I don't ever regret it. It's just, for me, it's always hard to get the ball rolling to do it. But once you do get rolling, you guys kind of figure out some interests. It starts going just fine. It is for me like a little switch I have to turn on to start asking probing questions. Like, what to do to start talking to somebody. So it's not that's the hard part, is just doing it. But yeah, overall, how do I approach it? I haven't been to a conference in so long where I remember recently to do it or have an easy conversation, because I feel like at VMX, when we went all together, we were all together. So it was very easy for us to just kind of play off each other and talk to and meet new people. So that's, I guess I've always seemed to fall back on, is when we're with a group of people that I know, it's easier for me, I guess, to meet new people, because we can all kind of chime in a conversation. So if you don't like going alone, at least if you go with a friend to a conference, like the 2 of you or 3 of you can meet somebody and talk to somebody at the same time. And it makes it easier to talk to somebody, because it's not just you holding the conversation. It's you and your buddy who you know really well. You guys can talk really well, but you can bring someone else in on board and you guys can strike up a conversation with them.
Yeah, this is Jeff. I don't have much to add. I mean, I think your point has been great. Maybe the points even came better from, I was like, now that you mention it, maybe the 3 of you are the introverts. I didn't realize how extroverted it was. I was like, you're right. I think bringing a buffer is a great, perhaps, bring an extrovert to work might help. Bring me as the buffer to start the conversation. That's fine. And tag along, better in groups. And then the only other thing I was going to mention that somebody else kind of touched on earlier, I want to say Adam at the beginning of the pod, but forgive me if I'm wrong. Somebody mentioned speaking to a lecturer after their talk. And I think that's an easy softball, because usually there's a line of people. But if you can get in there, and if you're nervous, just don't be the first person, and you can ask a genuine question about someone's lecture if you're interested in just chatting with them or seeing what they have to learn. I remember we were looking for like VBMA talkers, and we went and chatted with Andy Rourke after his lectures. And I remember speaking with Dr. Justine Lee, vet girl, after one of her lectures at a conference once. I was just like, man, I really love your work. Like, this is like, I appreciate you. And also had this one question about whatever from one of her talks that I thought was great.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Dogtor Bros.
If you would like to support us, please share this episode with others who may be interested in today's topic, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Would you like to influence our next episode? We love hearing your opinions and thoughts. Your comments may be our next topic.
Please leave us suggestions via email at thedoctorbros@gmail.com, DM us at thedoctorbros on Instagram, or leave us comments on our posts. Again, this is Brandon. You can reach me at Dr. Mason IM on Instagram.
And this is Chris, and you can reach me on Instagram at dr.chrishernandez.
And this is Jeff. You can find me on TikTok or Instagram at DermDrJeff, DermDogtorJeff.
And this is Adam. You can reach me on Instagram at DrAdamDVM. That's DrAdamDVM.